Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking into a really interesting personal journey.
Yeah, we've got this interview reflection from someone, let's call him Ken.
And it's all about navigating a career path that, well, didn't exactly go as planned.
Not at all. It's full of these unexpected turns, from studying liberal arts, getting assigned a major he didn't want.
Right, then even changing roles during an internship.
And now he's actually doing an MBA in New York, thinking about getting back into tech. It's
Whoa.
quite the path.
So our mission today is really to unpack his story, look at those key moments, his perspective on dealing with all these changes.
And hopefully draw out some lessons for you as you navigate your own career twists and turns.
Because let's face it, straight lines are pretty rare out there.
They really are. Okay, let's dive in.
So taking it back, he starts off in high school in Xinjiang, studying so liberal arts, humanities kind of stream.
Right. And he had ideas about university, like most students do. He was leaning towards business or economics. But interestingly, this was kind of him pushing back a bit. His family apparently hoped for, more traditional paths, civil service, maybe military.
So going into business was already a bit of a statement for him, showing some independence.
Seems like it. But that plan hit its first snag pretty quickly.
What happened?
Well, being a URCHA student, it turned out there were limitations. His top choice, finance, wasn't really open to him at some universities he was considering.
Oh, okay. So that's a detour right there. What did he do?
He adjusted. He picked international trade instead. Still in that sort of business world he was aiming for, but, a slight pivot.
International trade. Sounds like a decent backup plan, but I get the feeling the detours weren't over yet.
No, not even close. Then came the university assignment process, the N. This is another big one.
Right.
So he got into a good university. He was in Chongqing, but his score wasn't quite enough for international trade there. So the system assigned him, placed him into the marketing major instead.
Just assigned. Wow. Not even his choice at that point. How did he feel about marketing?
He really didn't like the idea. Not at all. He had this really strong negative bias.
Based on what?
Just a very superficial idea of it. He thought marketing was just, selling things, like in a market stall or a supermarket. Just basic selling.
Yeah, that's a common misconception, isn't it? That it's only about ads or pushing products.
Totally.
Yeah.
Missed the whole strategy, the user understanding part. He admitted it was a really limited view back then.
So why do you think that view is so common initially? For him and maybe others?
Well, I guess the most visible bits are the ads, the sales pitches, right?
Yeah.
Without digging deeper, it's easy to just see that surface level.
Makes sense.
But, and this is where it gets interesting for his story, his whole perspective on marketing changed later on.
How? Through his courses?
Exactly. Once he started taking the actual professional marketing courses later in university, it clicked differently.
Okay, what changed?
He started seeing it as a field with maybe a low barrier to entry. Anyone can try to sell something, sure, but a really high ceiling.
Okay. Low floor, high ceiling.
Right. And he realized the core wasn't just selling. It was about understanding people, understanding user needs, empathy, figuring out how to connect a solution to a real need.
So he was forced into this major he disliked based on a misunderstanding, but then found its actual depth through learning. That's quite a turnaround.
It really is. And it
Yeah.
sort of set the stage for how he approached things moving forward.
Speaking of university life, the source mentioned his reality in Chongqing was pretty different from maybe some high school fantasy he had.
Yeah, he talked about feeling quite out of place at first. University was in Chongqing. Most classmates were local. He was from Xinjiang. Big cultural shift. He even said he wanted to quit in that first year. It just felt really isolating, not what he'd pictured.
Wow, wanting to quit university entirely? That's intense. What kept him there? Or made it feel so alienating?
Yeah. He did mention a family elder, not his mom, who he felt was maybe more rebellious like him, but someone else came and persuaded him to stick it out. So some support there.
Okay.
And I think, sometimes the reality of a big university, a new city, it just doesn't match that idealized picture we get from movies or whatever.
Yeah, that happens. So during university, it says he wasn't really focused on top grades or joining lots of clubs. What was his focus then?
He had a very clear goal. Get a job right after graduating. That was it.
Straight into work. No thoughts of grad school at that point.
No, he was quite against doing grad school, just like as a default next step, or to put off finding work.
Why the strong push for immediate work?
It was all about independence for him. Financial independence, first and foremost, which he saw as like the key to building an independent personality overall.
Economic autonomy is the foundation.
Exactly. He didn't want to rely on his parents anymore. He felt that was crucial for him to become his own person.
And that connects to his view on grad school too, right?
Yeah, he specifically said he didn't want to do it just to avoid the job search pressure. He felt any big choice like that needed a real purpose, not just being an escape route.
That's quite focused for someone that age, purpose over just following the crowd.
Definitely. And this practical focus led him to do something pretty interesting in his junior year.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
He started a little side business. Noticed there was a need for short-term places to stay near campus, maybe for visiting students or people cramming for exams.
Okay.
So he rented rooms in a short-term rental apartment himself and then sublet them to other students.
Huh. Renting rooms to classmates. That's pretty entrepreneurial. What did he get out of that, besides maybe some cash?
Well, he did make some money. He actually had a specific goal. He wanted to buy a laptop, which cost around 3,000 RMB then, and this helped him do it.
Nice.
But more than that, he felt that experience, the practical side of it, was way more valuable and closer to what marketing actually is compared to just memorizing stuff for exams.
Right, like real-world application.
Exactly. Identifying a need, providing a service, dealing with people, managing things. It was problem-solving on the fly. He apparently found pure academics a bit boring anyway.
That makes total sense. Learning by doing and hitting a personal goal at the same time? Great example of self-driven learning.
It really shows his focus wasn't on grades or external stuff, but on achieving tangible things and building that independence he wanted.
Which then leads him right into the job market after graduation. He stuck to his plan, no immediate grad school.
Right. And initially he had specific targets. He was looking for marketing roles, places like 4A ad agencies or maybe foreign companies, places he associated with proper marketing.
Okay, so sticking with marketing, the field he'd ended up in and actually came to appreciate, but presumably not all roles were appealing.
Definitely not. He was very clear about one thing he did not want: sales roles.
Why the strong feelings against sales?
His reasoning was he saw sales as being all about relationships, which in his context maybe involved a lot of gift-giving, constant networking, stuff he just wasn't interested in. He wanted work that felt more, I guess, creative or intellectual, not just managing connections.
That's an interesting way he framed it, separating relationship building in sales from creative work. Do you think that's always a fair distinction? Don't creatives need relationships too?
Oh, for sure. Relationships matter everywhere. I think his view then might have been more about the primary perceived driver. He felt sales was mostly about connections and favors, whereas he wanted roles where the idea or the strategy felt like the main thing.
Got it. That nuance helps. So marketing planning was the goal, sales was out. How did he end up in the internet industry, though? That wasn't one of his initial targets.
He described it as sort of accidentally getting into the internet sector. He just found opportunities there that were specifically for planning roles.
Ah.
Roles that fit what he was looking for, that more strategic, less salesy kind of work. And the internet industry was booming, so those jobs were appearing.
Okay, so internet industry, planning role. Seemed like he's finding his footing. Then, another pivot. One he didn't choose.
Yeah, this is the second big change in his story. He landed an internship in marketing planning. Perfect, right, exactly what he wanted.
Sounds ideal.
But then, when they offered him the full-time job, they switched him. Moved him into a product manager role instead.
Whoa, wait. Switched him as he was hired? He didn't even intern as a PM. Did he even know what that was?
Nope. His reaction was pretty similar to his initial take on marketing. Resistance, negativity. He said he had no idea what a product manager even did back then.
Man.
He was pretty resistant to being moved when he thought he'd secured that planning job he wanted.
It's really striking how often his path involves these shifts into things he didn't plan for, didn't understand, or didn't initially want. He seems to be constantly reacting.
It's definitely a recurring theme. This leads to something important. He talked about a framework he uses for making choices.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Especially when things are unclear or he's facing these unexpected forks in the road. He says sometimes he doesn't know exactly what he wants to do.
Okay, relatable.
But he usually has a very strong gut feeling about what he definitely doesn't want to do.
The don't want framework. I like that. How does he apply it?
He basically uses elimination. If he knows certain things are a hard no for him, like sales roles earlier, or maybe his initial resistance to marketing or product management because he didn't get it, it helps narrow things down.
Right. Even if the perfect path isn't clear, knowing what to avoid helps.
Exactly. It clears the fog a bit, helps him figure out which direction he can move in. He finds it a really practical way to deal with uncertainty.
That's actually a really helpful way to think about it. Takes the pressure off finding the single right answer and focuses on just avoiding the wrong ones first.
It lets you keep moving, make a decision, even without perfect clarity. Just focus on what you know isn't right for you.
Okay, so fast forward. He works as a product manager for several years, presumably figures it out, and then makes another huge leap. An MBA in New York.
Yeah, and he definitely sees this as a big, courageous move. I mean, leaving an established career years later, going back to school, foreign country, competitive environment, it's a lot.
And the source mentions he's feeling the pressure now, right? Studies job hunting in the U.S., the financial side.
Oh, yeah. He's very open about the stress, the MBA workload, trying to find a job in the U.S. tech scene, funding it all himself. It's intense.
How does he view that pressure?
He has this really mature take on it. He sees it basically as a consequence of his own decisions. He chose this path. He knew it would be tough. So the pressure is just part of the deal he made with himself. He owns it.
That sense of ownership feels like a big part of his resilience. How does he connect past challenges to handling this current pressure?
He explicitly says he thinks he can handle this level of pressure now, the MBA, the job hunt, all of it, precisely because of everything he navigated before.
Like building up tolerance.
Kind of. He reflects that at each stage, hating marketing initially, wanting to quit uni, starting the business, getting switched to PM, he was probably dealing with his maximum pressure at that time.
His personal limit kept expanding.
Exactly. Each challenge stretched him, built his capacity. So the pressure now, while high, feels manageable because he's built up that resilience muscle over years of dealing with unexpected stuff.
That's a fantastic insight. Resilience isn't static, it grows as you overcome things, makes you ready for bigger challenges later. He also gives some advice looking back, right? To his younger self.
Yeah. Two main things he'd tell his high school or university self.
What's the first?
Study English well. He really emphasizes this one.
Why English specifically? What's the big deal for him now?
It's very practical. He sees strong English as absolutely crucial for, broadening your horizons, getting access to information directly, firsthand, from anywhere in the world.
So not just speaking, but accessing knowledge.
Right. Better research, better understanding, not relying on translations or someone else's take. He admits, learning English back home is different from using it abroad daily, but he insists that building that solid foundation early on is key. It just opens up the world.
That makes a ton of sense. It's a tool for global understanding and access.
It removes barriers. Information barriers, perspective barriers.
Okay, and what was the second piece of advice?
This one's a bit lighter, but maybe just as important. Enjoy food and buy things you want now.
Why now?
His reasoning was basically, sometimes later on, when you're under different pressures or chasing bigger goals, you might not have the chance or the mindset to enjoy those simple things.
A little reminder to enjoy the present, too, not just constantly plan for the future. Don't defer all the good stuff.
Exactly. Find that balance, especially when you're maybe super focused on future goals, like he was.
Okay, so let's wrap up this deep dive into Tez's journey. We've covered a lot: the early academic detours, feeling lost, the entrepreneurial spark, the unexpected career pivots like becoming a PM.
Right, and landing now in this intense MBA experience abroad. His story really paints a picture of, reality for many people. Career paths are rarely straight lines.
Absolutely. And the key takeaways seem to be about adaptability, building resilience through those twists, the surprising usefulness of knowing what you don't want.
And maybe the foundational importance of skills, like English in his case, that just give you more options and broader perspective down the line.
It really underscores that the journey isn't always about following a pre-drawn map. And for you listening, as you face your own choices, maybe planned or unplanned pivots, his experience offers a different lens.
Yeah, it shows how navigating change, even unwanted change, can build strength.
So here's a final thought we want to leave you with. How might embracing those unexpected turns, the major you didn't pick, the job you didn't plan for, or even just getting really clear on the paths you definitely don't want to take?
How might that actually lead you somewhere more interesting, maybe even more fulfilling, than just sticking rigidly to your original plan?
Think about the skills and resilience you gain, not just from following the map perfectly, but from finding your own way when the map turns out to be wrong or incomplete, or when you have to figure things out by knowing which roads just feel wrong under your feet.
Something to chew on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.